G'day brothers, and the occasional sister. As soon as the wind stops blowing its tits off, I'm going to take that green thing out there and head out and catch a fish. In the meantime, let's head into the hut and I'll tell you another Frosty the pig dog story. Happy New Year, brothers and the occasional sister. It's the first day of 2024. It's a Monday, first day of the year, the new year, so I hope you're blessed with good health this year and your dreams come true and you keep on fighting a good battle. Anyway, let's turn to the story. Wasn't really going to tell this story. I met Crispy from Crispy's Kiwi Adventures this morning over at the holiday park where he stayed. Went over and visited him after my morning walk and I told him a little bit about this story and I said, you know mate, I don't really know if I want to actually tell this story. He said, well, use your own discretion. So on that note, I am going to tell it, but you guys use your own discretion who you show it to, and definitely not for children. This is it's an adults only story, or at least watch it and then you decide. So I've left Te Puke, my heart's broken, I'm down on my luck. My mate Bob's ripped me off, Felicity's broken my heart, and the only good loyal friend I've got is this dog beside me called Frosty the pig dog. Walking along the highway, I get my first lift, it was a bloody crack. It took me all the way almost to Dannevirke, not quite. So that was a long, long ride. And if you've gone from Te Puke to Dannevirke, you'll know how long that ride is. Come close to the evening, I get picked up by another car, and this is where things get really a little bit sort of colourful. And it's about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. It's later in the day, July, so it's quite cold. I'm down to my last cigarette and I've got no food in my belly, still I'm pretty hungry. And coming behind me is a ute. It's a Holden Kingswood, the old Golden Holden with the 202 engine, the straight 6 with the orange block. It's got a canopy on the back with 2 young kids on the back, maybe 11 or 12 years old. Pretty cold to be on the back of a truck. And the bench, he's got 3 big mouldy fellas. And they pull over beside me and this big fella winds the window down and he's like, where you going, bro? And I said, well, I'm trying to get to Wellington. He said, oh, we're going to Dannevirke tonight. And I said, oh, that'd be a good start. I guess we're maybe like, I don't know, 100k out of Dannevirke. Or we had about an hour's drive, so maybe 80k out of Dannevirke. So jump on the back. We're going down the road and I noticed that they were drinking a few beers while they're driving. And I said to the young fella beside me, I said, how long have they been drinking for? He goes, since yesterday, eh? And I said, oh, okay. I said, where have you come from? He goes, Ahipara. So Ahipara's right at the top of the North Island. I said, so they've been drinking the whole way? He goes, yeah. And then he says to me, can that dog there catch a pig? And I said, well, actually it can, it's a pig dog. I said, what made you ask that? He goes, oh, the funny scars on its face, eh? And the funny scars on its leg. I thought it was a pig dog. And I said, it sure can catch a pig. He goes, I go pig hunting all the time, eh? And I said, really? He goes, yeah. And I said, cool. He goes, my uncle's got a really mean-ass dog. And I said, awesome. I said, when did you last hunt with your uncle? He goes, yesterday morning. And I said, but you were driving, weren't you? Haven't you been on the road since yesterday morning? He goes, yeah, we stopped and we went for a hunt at my uncle's house. And then we picked him up. I said, oh, so your uncle's in the car? He goes, yeah, that's him on the passenger side. And I said, oh, okay, so is that your dad driving? He goes, no, that's my other uncle. And I said, okay. I said, who's the bloke in the middle? He goes, oh, that's my other uncle too. And I said, okay. I said, so where's your pig dog? Oh, that's with my other uncle. I said, where's your other uncle? He said, that's in Dannevirke. I said, geez, you've got a lot of uncles. Are they all brothers? He goes, no. And I said, well, uncles are normally brothers. Are they your mother's brothers? He goes, no, they're just my uncles. And I said, okay. I said, so where's your mum and dad? Oh, I haven't got a mum and dad, eh? I just live with my grandma. And I said, okay. I said, where's your grandma? She's in Dannevirke. I said, okay. I said, what about the other fella beside you? There's this younger fella with a big mop of hair and white teeth. And he goes, hee. And I said, what's your name? He goes, Toy. I said, Toy, like a toy you play with? He goes, yeah, Toy. I said, g'day, Toy, good to meet you, mate. And I said, do you go for a hunt? And he goes, nah. And I said, why is that? And he goes, don't like it. And I said, fair enough. And the young guy that I was talking to, he looked up at me, he goes, oh, I love pig hunting, eh? And I said, yeah, me too, I like it. He says, we might get out for a hunt, eh? And I said, cool. So we carry on down the road, it's a long driving, we're talking quite a bit, and just before we get to Dannevirke, there's a little town, middle of butt-fuck nowhere, just only like 3 or 4 houses, and there's a place that probably was once a shop. It's been closed down, and they pull over the side of the road, and the uncle that's the passenger, he gets out and he goes to the shop, and there's a mat over by the front door. He lifts it up and there's a key underneath it, and he puts it in the door and he opens it. He goes inside and comes out with a box about this big and lifts it out to the canopy of the ute and sticks it under the canopy and puts it down. He goes to me like this, shh. I said, sweet as, bro. Carry on down the road. We get into Dannevirke, sort of probably about, I don't know, 4 o'clock, not that late. And they go, this is where we're stopping, eh? And the guy driving the ute, he goes, where are you going now, mate? I said, well, I'm going to try to get to Wellington. He said, well, if you need a place to stay tonight, you can stay with this fella here, the guy in the middle. The guy in the middle was he was a big guy, like real big. And he just gave me the eyebrows. I said, actually, yeah, no, I'm pretty tired. I've been travelling a bit. If you've got a place, guess. So I go with him. They drop me off. I go with him, and they drop me off in this really big house. And it's just full of people. There's just people everywhere. There's people playing guitar and singing, and everyone's drinking, and there's lots of ganja music. And out the back, they've got some hunting dogs, like two hunting dogs that are really, really, like, not in great condition, not that well looked after. I looked at them, I felt sorry for them. They were pretty skinny, real scary looking dogs. They look like they've been ripped up but never stitched up, you know what I mean? Ripped up, never stitched up. A lot of guys have dogs like that don't take care of them because they don't want to pay for the vet bills, and they look pretty much like ripped up but not stitched up. So, yeah, these dogs just been like, had some pretty bad injuries and put back in the kennel, and they were thin. I had some dog biscuits in my blue rucksack, so I put a couple in the cage, and some guy goes, hey, don't feed the fucking dogs. And I said, well, they look like they need a feed. He said, don't feed the fucking dogs. I said, okay, bro. That was that there. Anyway, the big uncle comes out to me and he goes, oh, come with me, fella. And they take me to this little I suppose you could say it looked like a pump shed. It wasn't a sleep out or anything. It was a real tin place, and it had a makeshift bed that wasn't really a proper bed, and a whole lot of implements and stuff in there. He said, you can stay out here tonight. And I said, okay. So I got my sleeping bag out and made it as comfortable as I could. And in the house, it was like all this noise going on, and I hadn't anything to eat all day. So I went into the house and introduced myself to a few people, and there was some guys playing some guitar, and I took my G harmonica out, which I always carried my harmonica, and I played a bit of music, but they weren't tuned orchestrally, because you've got to match the harmonica, so it didn't work out. So I said, can I tune your guitar right? And they looked at me like, how do you know how to tune it? And I said, well, you just blow a middle A on the harmonica. Even if it's G, you blow a middle A and you tune it off that, or you blow a C and you C string. And they didn't really understand the technicalities of music, but man, they could sing and they could play. So I get the harmonica, and then I tune the guitar, get it orchestrally in pitch, get it up perfect, give it back to the guys, and they start bashing on this guitar, and now I can play with them. So we now got some really good music going, and I'm a pretty rhythmic harmonica player, and there's some girls dancing, and there's beers flowing, and we had this mad party, and it went on till late in the night, and I drank a lot and didn't have much to eat, and woke up the next morning feeling really, really terrible. And the young fella come in and he was like shaking me, like probably about 8 o'clock, wasn't that early. He's going, wake up, we're going for a hunt. And I'm like, oh, really? Wake up, my uncle's here. I said, which uncle's that? Oh, it's another uncle, eh? And this guy comes in and he's like really buff. And he's got shorts on, and it's like winter time, and he's a tall, strong, real strong Māori guy with some serious tattoos, and he looks really tough. And he's got some white, like, fishing gumboots, the gumboots they use in the factory, and shorts. And he's got a bush shirt, and he's got his sleeves rolled up. He's got really big, strong arms. And he just looks like one of those guys you don't fuck with. And he looks in the shed and he goes, you the guy with the pig dog? And I said, yeah. He goes, gonna catch a pig? I said, yeah. Are you sure? And I said, yeah. Come with us. And I haven't had breakfast, and I haven't eaten the day before, and I haven't been to the toilet. So I quickly get up. We get Frosty, they take the 2 dogs out, and he's got another dog, so now we've got those 2 dogs there, got another dog, and got Frosty, and we go to this place just outside of Dannevirke, and those of you who live in Dannevirke will probably know where it is, because today you can still catch pigs there. It's got a special name, I forget the name. We go up this long sort of road, and then we go to a side road, and there's the young fella, there's the uncle who was on the left-hand side, who was the passenger, there was him. and there was the strong guy. I forget all their names, so I can't tell you names, it's that long ago. But the guy let's just call him Tough, the tough guy, because he looked tough. He looked hard as nails. Big jaw. We're going up this track, and I'm being real careful not to say anything. And then I noticed a bore mark, a fresh one on the side, and I went, "Hey, bro," he goes, looks at me real angry. I said, "Did you see that?" He goes, "What?" I said, "Bore mark." He goes, "Where?" I said, "Down there, you just about walked on top of it." "Oh, I fucking saw that, eh? I fucking saw that." I said, yeah, I thought you did." He didn't see it. And he's looking down, and then he tells me, "Mate, look at this here." And looked like it was about a couple of hours old. I said, "That's pretty fresh, bro. It's only like a couple of hours old." He goes, I fucking know that." And I said, "Yeah, I'm sure you do, but if we get quiet, we might get onto it." He goes, "Yeah." So we're carrying on up the track, and he's got his dog and the other two dogs that were in the kennels. Now his dog it's got quite a bit of greyhound in it, and it's in better nick than the other two dogs, but it's still pretty skinny. Greyhound pig dogs never look good. They always look like they're dying of starvation because part of the breed. And Frosty's staying real close to me. He's not hunting out like he normally does. He's almost like too scared to go out, hunt out, and he's staying real close. And then one of the two little scruffy dogs, it heads up this track like real rapidly, like runs fast, and the dog that was with the strong guy sees it and just chases after it. But the other dog, the other bitch, just sort of stays in close, and they're gone. And so now we've got one bitch with us, and we've got Frosty, and we're just going along, and the other dogs are gone, and they're waiting, and they're all listening for it. And Frosty wants to keep on moving. So I said to the tough guy, I said, "Hey, I'm going to carry on up here, mate, because I reckon there's a pig up here, eh?" And he goes, "Oh, just wait here." So I waited, and we waited, and his dogs didn't come back. And then they went for a long walk, and they didn't find them, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know where it's gone, eh?" Because you got a tracking gear these days. So then they came back to me, and then we carried on up further, and we only went about maybe half a kilometre, 500 metres, and Frosty and the bitch. So when you had those two dogs, they both took off at the same time, like went flying up the track like 100 mile an hour. They're on, and this tough guy now, he's just like, "Shh, stay here." So we're waiting. And then we hear it, big scoff, it's big old pig for sure, big old pig bail-up's going on. We sprint up, and this big guy couldn't keep up with him. He just mowed through the bush, and the big uncle got left behind, and the young kid was not far behind me. He was doing a pretty good job, but the tough guy was just ploughing through the bush, and I was really struggling to get there. And when we get there, here's this great big barrow. Now, a barrow is a boar that's had his nuts cut off, and if you take this wasn't the first time I'd seen a barrow. I'd caught barrows in Morawaka too, but this barrow here was a cracker. It was a big pig. So when you take the nuts off a boar that's over 100 pound, what happens is all the shield will turn to fat after 3 months. And this had been one of the pigs that these guys at some stage had cut and released again. And it was more closer to 200 pound. It was a big pig. Didn't have a lot of fight in it, but it only had 2 dogs on at this stage. And Frosty was pretty much a bailing dog if it was a big boar. He'd swing off stuff, but he had to know what he's doing. And right now they were bailing. And this tough guy was just like looking at it and waiting for something to happen. And I thought he was going to go for a hole, but he kept on dancing back because the old pig was swinging. Next minute, the 2 dogs that had previously gone, his dog and the other dog, came flying out of nowhere and just went flying in. Now we had all 4 dogs on it, and I ran in and grabbed the back legs, and the tough guy got the front leg, and he stuck it, and I was holding the back legs. And it was a huge pig. It was humongous. Didn't have massive tusk, but it was bloody massive. And the young fellow was like, "Oh, sweet ass, bro, I told you my uncle had a good dog, eh?" And I said, "Well, actually, it was my dog Frosty, and the other dog that actually found it." "Oh no, my uncle's dog got it for sure, eh?" And he was talking about the tough guy's dog, which actually didn't get it. And anyway, so that was cool. So the big guy, he put this pig on his back as if it was nothing. One of those guys you meet once in a lifetime. It's just so incredibly strong. Just getting to his feet, piece of cake. And his big uncle, the big guy, was coming up the track when we were going back out, and he's carrying it out. It's already guts dropped out of it and going back. Well, we get back to the ute, And when he stuck it on the ute, his ute was he also had a Holden Kingswood, but he had a flat deck, not the well side. And when he stuck it on his ute, the whole thing just went down at the end like it was really a heavy pig. That was our morning's hunt. We got back to the house, and when I got back there, they were cooking up watercress and doughboys. They were doing a real boil up with heaps of cabbage, and it was all sorts of food. And they'd made a hangi in the backyard that had been going for about 3 or 4 hours, and it was going to be ready in that afternoon. So I stayed that afternoon, and we played music and we drank beer, and I still was hungry as hell, and it'd been like 2 days or 3 days on the lash. And by about 4 o'clock I was absolutely stoned and drunk and starving, and man, that food was so good. I was like just sticking food in my face, like just pork and watercress and doughboys, and it's just all this really yummy food, boiled up cabbage, and it's just so good. And I met a girl who was probably about 2 or 3 years older than me, and man, she was a very large girl, but she had the most incredible singing voice, just so beautiful. And she was playing the guitar and singing, and I was playing the harmonica, and she was such a lovely person and such a lovely voice. I kind of like fell for her a bit just based on her singing ability. And the tough guy comes up to me, puts an elbow onto me, goes, "You like her, eh?" And I said, "She's pretty awesome, mate." He goes, "Well, don't fucking like her." I said, "Why is he?" He goes, "That's my daughter." I was like, "Oh, okay." Sorry, bro. Nothing happened. Next morning, said my goodbyes to everybody. Gave my harmonica to the young fella to play because it was just a way to say thank you. I had another one in my rucksack. I had a G and I had a C, and that was my G. Gave him the G harmonica as a gift, and left with a rucksack full of some pork that had been pre-cooked, a bit of leftover from the hangi, a headache, and on the road. Now when I got to Wellington, I got picked up by this couple, 2 women, and when I say couple, they were a couple, and they picked me up, and there wasn't a lot of talking. They were pretty boring, to be honest. They more or less picked me up because they felt sorry for Frosty, and we're in the back of their car. They had a Datsun 120Y. That was it, and it was like a hatchback thing, a real, not comfortable in the back of the car. I don't know if you guys even know what a Datsun 120Y looks like, but that's what it was. I don't even think they're around today, definitely not. In the back, and it was quite uncomfortable in the back. So we get into Wellington, and they drop me off at the youth hostel. Now things get really interesting there because I can't take the dog in, but that's where I'm staying for the night. So I talked to the people at reception, and I said, "Is there some place where I could maybe leave my dog?" And the person at the reception said, "I can keep it at my house and you can pick it up. I'll look after it." And that was at the youth hostel because they didn't have any facility there to keep it. And I said, "Well, where's your house?" And the person at reception goes, "Over there," and points across the road. He said, "Come with me." He was an older man. He was a really cool guy. And he could tell that I was pretty much a loose unit. So we went over to his place. And when we got over there, he said to me, "You got anything to eat?" And I said, "Actually, I have. I've had some wild pork." He said, "Do you need a shower and stuff?" I said, "I do." And he said, "Well, you can get all that in the hostel." So I didn't have a lot of money back then. I never had a lot of money. And I had enough for 3 nights, and I was only planning on staying 1. So I told him that just 1 night, and if I needed an extra night, I might stay on, but right now just 1 night. So go over to his place, and he's got a place there. It's fully fenced, and there's a dog kennel. And I said, "Oh, you got a dog?" And he said, "No, my dog's just passed away." And I said, "When did that happen?" And he goes, "Yesterday." And I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yesterday. My dog just passed away." I said, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry to hear that." I said, "How long do you have your dog for?" He goes, 16 years. And then we started talking about his dog, and then it went on and on and on and on, and his dog, everything about his dog, and he was grieving his dog. I said, "Well, I'm sorry you lost your dog, I really am. I need to get some things sorted." So we left Frosty there, and old Frosty looked like I put him in the kennel tied up, and he looked like he'd had his throat cut. He looked at me like, "Don't leave me, boss, all alone here." But Frosty had been in a lot of places and spaces before, and he was pretty good, but he just didn't want to be in this place. Maybe he could feel the death around, or the spirit of the other dog, who knows, but he didn't look particularly happy. It was a good place. He had shelter, he had food, and a big fence he couldn't possibly escape. There was no cats in there he could kill, so it looked like a good place for Frosty to be. Get into the youth hostel. I go over there. I had a shower, the first shower I've had in ages, like days. Washed all the grub under my fingernails. My fingernails were always dirty because I was always gardening, but they were blacker than that. I've just washed everything. Washed all my clothes in the shower, except the one pair of fresh underwear I have, which I put on. Wrapped my towel around me. I put everything to dry on the heater in the room. I was in a dorm with like 7 other guys, had 8 beds in it, and put all my clothes on the heater to dry. It was the only time I washed my clothes. And I'm in this dorm here, and there's all these other guys and that there. And go to sleep, really exhausted, go to sleep, and I must have slept 10 hours solid. I wake up the next day and I go over and pick Frosty up. We have some breakfast in this little place downstairs, and I take Frosty on a lead. We walk all around Wellington. I had a whole day, and it was really awesome, like the first time back in the city, and had a little bit of money with me, not much, and stuff, all money actually, and there's like this harmonica in a shop window, which is a different, it's a chromatic one, and normally I play the blues ones, and I thought, I wonder if I should invest buying that. And I went in the shop and I asked the bloke if I could play it. He says, no, if you play it you've got to buy it because it's mouth organ. So I never actually bought it because I wanted to test it, but he wouldn't let me test it out, so fair enough, didn't buy that. Come out of the shop, walked around all day, seen different sights and scenes, and then that evening, after I take Frosty back, I was still walking around the streets, and I was going to go and buy a meal, and I'm real careful about buying food because I only had limited dollars, and there's these 2 men that are like standing outside this restaurant there, and I decided that I would play some music right where they were standing, and so, because I used to bus quite often, so I just started playing the harmonica right where they were next to the restaurant, and I only played like half a song. I only got through it, and they said, "Bro, you gotta come and play for us." And I was playing an old blues song called "County Farm." No man on a county farm. Play the harmonica. No man on a county farm. I was singing the song there, and they whisked me into this restaurant, and they said, "Play up here." Now, one of them, his brother owned the restaurant, and they turned the music off because they had music playing, and then I was now playing in the restaurant. So I played, and everyone's tapping their feet, and it's just a great buzz going on, and I'm hungry. And so I said, "Hey guys, after the 5th song, I'm actually really hungry. I'd like to get a feed. Anybody keen on shouting me a feed?" And did I get shouted a feed? Filet steak, potato, peas, carrots, beautiful gravy, then a dessert, and the most absolutely delicious dessert. Normally trifle is reserved for Christmas time, but they had trifle on the menu for some reason. It was the middle of the year, so there was trifle, which I just love, with like you could taste the sherry and stuff in it, and it had all this fruits in it, and I wolfed that down, and then I played more harmonica. And these 2 guys were just great. They gave me $10, which back then is a lot of money. You work half a day for $10, so I got a free feed and I got $10. Come out of that there, and it's late in the night, and you had to be back at the youth hostel. I think you had to be in there at the 10 before they locked up, and I didn't want to get locked out. And so I went back to the youth hostel, and my mate that had Frosty he was on the front desk, and I said to him, "Could I go out and come back later on?" He says, no, you've got to be in by 10. It was like 9:45 now, so I thought, stuff. I wanted to get out in the town and have some fun, so I thought, I'll just wing it. I was actually stayed there, but I wouldn't be able to get back in after 10. So I went back out to the car where the 2 guys were that picked me up from the restaurant, and I said, "Look, if I come with you, I can't stay where I'm booked tonight." And they said, "We'll sort you out, don't worry." So we go on the town, and we go to all these different places, and after going all around the place, we finally end up back at the same restaurant again, and his brother has opened it up to have a sort of a private party. A great night, good party. 1 o'clock in the morning, I see this most beautiful Asian girl. Never ever seen an Asian girl so beautiful in my life. I haven't actually seen that many Asians. I mean, I'm only a young kid. Beautiful soft skin, absolutely really high cheekbones, dark eyes, and she's looking at me and I'm looking at her. And I go on over to her and I introduce myself, and she liked me straight away. We had real chemistry, and we're in the bar there, and it's like really like just that moment you have with somebody. And we're having a bit of a dance because I've got the music going now, and we're dancing real close. and she's real slim, and just she's so small and petite I could pick her up. And suddenly I'm forgetting all about the fact I've got a broken heart, and I'm with this gorgeous girl, and we go back out to the back room. I haven't kissed her or anything yet, and I'm like thinking, man, I wish I had a place I could take. And I said to one of the two guys, I said, do we have a place I can stay tonight and take her? And one of the guys smiled at me and he said, you don't really want to do that. And I said, oh yes I do. And he says, no you don't. And I said, yes I do. And he says, no you don't. So we're dancing and grinding away on the floor, and you ever had that funny feeling something's just not quite right with something, you can't put your finger on it, and it's like something's just not quite right, you just don't know, everything's beautiful except there's one little weird thing. And I looked at her eyes and she looked at me. Her name was Nam, and I said, Nam, do you want to go somewhere? She goes, yeah. And I said, yeah, well I don't know where I can take you, but let's go somewhere. And the guy who took me in there, one of the two guys who drove the car, he grabbed my hand, he goes, And I said, what do you mean? He goes, lady boy. I said, what's a lady boy? He goes, lady boy. I said, what is lady boy? And he goes, she's got a danger. I said, what? He said, she's got a winky. I said, what? He said, she's got a John Thomas. I said, what are you talking about? What are you on about? He goes, mate, she's got a wanger. And I said, what do you mean she's got a wanger? He said, mate, she's got a dick. And I said, don't be silly. She's got boobs. You can't have boobs and have a dick. And he goes, you got a lot to learn, son. That's a lady boy. And so I went back to her on the floor and I looked at her, and that thing that didn't feel quite right, I said to her, have you got a cock? And she goes, yeah, Solly, I have a cock. And I just had that feeling like I'd just eaten a mince pie and found a big mouse in it. It was like, and I said, good night. And I was gone. That was my first and my only experience in my life. Even when I went to Thailand, and I've been to Thailand 27 times, I've been to Thailand in my life. I've never been that close to a ladyboy. But right in the heart of Wellington, in the 80s, there's a ladyboy. So that was my lesson. And thank God I never got to anything more than dancing on the floor. And that's a part of the story I wasn't sure I was going to tell. But anyway, I've told you. So, following morning, I wake up in the hostel, and the guy that's been looking after my dog for me, he comes down to the breakfast table and he goes, hey, I'm sorry, but your dog's gone. I said, what? He said, it's gone. And I said, how could it go? You got a fence and it was in a kennel. He said, no, it's gone. And I said, it can't be gone. He said, it's completely gone. And I said, how could it escape? He said, oh, some guests have come over and someone's let it out of the dog box, and then they've left the door open. I said, mate, that sounds like someone's stolen him. I said, that dog belongs to a kingpin. You don't want that dog to disappear. That's Frosty. We've got to find Frosty. So now we're like, we're in like looking for a needle in a haystack. We're right in the middle of a big city. He has got a collar, and all it's got on it is Frosty. It doesn't have a phone number because I haven't got a telephone. I've got no address or anywhere. And there's like no way to identify it. So we're going all over the city, and then he takes me to the pound. It's not there, and we can't find Frosty. And I'm like, well, I'm not leaving Wellington until I find Frosty. And it's like, there's no way possibly that I can leave without that dog. It's not going to end this way. So I said to the guy, I said, I'm not leaving until I find Frosty, and you were responsible for looking after my dog, so you need to pay for my hostel. So he did. And I went to the restaurant each night, and I paid for food, and I made money. One night I made $30, and I played on the street, and I made quite a bit of money. And there was different people I met, but every day went by. I'd been there 4 days now and still haven't found Frosty. 5 days, still haven't found him. On the 5th day, I'm in the hostel there, and it's the morning time again, and I'm eating porridge, and I have a tap, tap, tap on my shoulder, and turn around, and it's the guy looking up Frosty, and here he is holding Frosty. And I'm like, Frosty! Frosty, oh, he's wagging his tail, and I'm like, whoa! with like, oh, Frosty, and I give him a big hug, and I said, well, where'd you find him? He said, I didn't find him. He said, he came back, he was outside the youth hostel this morning. I said, whereabouts? He said, it was right outside where your room, your dorm is. It was outside the window. Frosty had smelt my scent, and somehow, God knows where he'd been, the stories he could tell, but he made his way back, and he found me. And I was like, tears are rolling down my cheeks, like, fuck, and Frosty, and his tail's wagging like fury, and I'm like, Frosty, I'm holding him. And I have him a porridge, and then this bitty idiot comes in, who's the other guy. He says, you can't have dogs in here, get out with that dog. And I just was holding Frosty, and I went, fuck off, to him. And everyone was like looking at me, and I was holding Frosty. And the guy that put me up, I ended up staying at his house that night, and we had one more night, had a good meal, and the next morning he took me down to the ferry terminal, and I made my way to the South Island, which is going to be the next part of the story. Hope you brothers enjoyed this one, and good luck with the new year. Have a cracker. I'm going to wrap Frosty videos or stories up about Frosty soon, because they are almost coming to an end. We've got maybe a couple more, or I stretch it out, might be 3. Ghost Daddy, if you enjoyed the video and you made it to the end, you're still watching, smash the like button so old Clay knows he got this one right for you, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.